I'm Coy Jandreau, this is Comic Book Shopping, and I'm here with Damon Lindelof. How you doing, man?
I'm fantastic, thanks for having me.
This show is canceled! Maybe not the polar bears.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that I get to do this for a living is incredible.
Joker.
Oh my God, what?
The John Carpenter. We are doing some comic book shopping in honor of Watchmen, which I am dying to dive into. I am so excited, but first we should buy some comics.
Oh, we absolutely should.
We're at Golden Apple, are you ready?
Let's do it, let's take a bite.
Let's do it! So I would be a horrible Lost fan if I didn't start there.
Please.
Is there any fan theory that happened mid-series that informed anything that happened later? Was there ever a thing that you were like, that's a great idea, that led to other ideas in your own head?
I wouldn't say a fan theory, but one of the things that we kept hearing, what's going on with all the people in the background carrying like firewood around.
Yeah.
Like we keep focusing on the stories of the same 10 people, but we know that like 40 some odd people survived the crash. They're just background, nobody cares about them, but it just kept coming up. Maybe we need to do that story. So Nikki and Paolo are really the fans' fault, is what I want to say. No, I mean, we take full responsibility for it, but it is one of those things that we didn't think was important, so then we did it, and then people stopped saying, we need to hear the stories from those guys.
It's a show that really changed the TV landscape forever. How big of a battle was that getting made then?
The way that show came to be was nobody had any time to say no. I think that great things happen creatively when there are romantics at the helm. And fortunately, Lloyd Braun, who was running ABC at the time, knew that he was about to get fired. This is the only way that it would ever happen, is if it were greenlit by someone who was not afraid to lose their job. And we're the beneficiaries of that.
A man on the edge.
Yes,
made.
It's like those movies where someone finds out they're about to die, and then they go and do all these crazy things.
Yeah.
And 10 minutes left, they
and
find
then he's
out.
fine. The
Oh my God!
there.
No, yeah, exactly. We showed you the wrong X-ray. I'm sure if someone had told Lloyd you're actually not going to get fired, he would have been like, "This show is canceled."
Maybe not the polar bears.
Yeah, exactly.
You've talked about Watchmen informing a lot of Lost by like the themes and that you growing up on that. Is there anything that you see from your world of Lost differently now that you've been living in the Watchmen space?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I think I openly acknowledged that Lost had appropriated or borrowed, or let's just be completely and totally honest, ripped and stolen like many, many ideas from Watchmen. And so when people would say to me, oh my God, this idea of doing flashbacks or jumping around in time, doing nonlinear storytelling, or having an episodic construct that was focused on a single character, and I'd say I learned all of that from Watchmen. One of the most exciting things for me was between seasons 1 and seasons 2 of Lost, a new Watchmen trade came out, and I was blurbed on the back of it saying it's the greatest piece of popular fiction ever created, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm blurbed on the back of Watchmen. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, that was really sweet.
Well, speaking of comics in that world,
yes.
I want to recommend some crazy stuff to you, sir.
Let's do it. Oh my God.
We were talking right before, Brian K. Vaughan.
Yeah, the greatest.
Paper Girls is so high selling, we couldn't even get a 1 through 3. So this is volume 4, but you've been reading Paper Girls.
I actually have volumes 1 through 3, the trades.
This is one of the craziest comics because it doesn't read like a comic. When I'm reading Paper Girls, I'm always alarmed by the fact that everything in it makes me judge what happened last month. And I feel like that's got some Lost flavor.
Brian was influencing Lost, and then he came and worked on Lost, and I've read everything that he's ever done. The time travel plotting is so exquisitely executed, and it's funny, characters are incredible.
And he's already read Saga, internet, so worry not about comic book shopping not including Saga, because the man knows.
What do you call Saga fans? Are we sagheads?
Saga? Saggers? I'd say I'm a sagger.
Yeah,
no, I don't know.
No, bad.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Something is Killing the Children. Have you heard of this?
I have not. This is a very grabby title.
Issue 1 completely sold out.
Children.
And they're gone now.
Yeah.
So Something is Killing the Children is a complete mystery noir, and I love that the art feels like what I imagine like smoky bars smell like. Your protagonist is instantly likable and mysterious, and I love the use of shading.
It feels a little Bendis alias.
Yeah, like the old
like
Omen
early
stuff.
days.
Strange Skies Over East Berlin. Have you heard of this?
I have not, no.
So this takes place during the Berlin Wall. We're in an alternate reality, and I thought with all of your alternate reality concepts, you'd dig this. So they're building the wall higher in this reality.
Everyone knows that works.
It's going well.
If it's not working, just make it higher.
Have you heard of Wicked and Divine?
I have heard of Wicked and Divine.
So this is a book dealing with religion and dealing with theology.
Yeah,
it's gods.
It's a different, but it's not American gods.
Right.
It's entirely different.
And they're rock stars because that's how we would treat them.
And the artwork is extraordinary. And exploding heads.
And exploding heads.
Right. Yes.
Things get violent. Things get intense. Stack one. You ready to discover some more?
Let's go to the next. Keep on stacking.
Now, Star Trek, the first one he did with JJ, really started this popularization of the reboot, sequel, quantum theory. Is that something you personally believe in, that we have these alternate realities that we can kind of dip into, that like different choices launch in different ideas?
For those of us who were basically born in the 70s and raised in the 80s, this culture, Star Wars, Star Trek, Watchmen, was so much a part of our childhood. Now we are professional movie and television writers and producers. We're just basically writing fanfic that people are making. Because I wrote this stuff, like really bad, Star Trek and Watchmen fanfic when I was, 14 and 15 years old. The idea that we get to sort of play in this universe is very much like the world of comic books where, Batman, Superman, these are characters who were created in the late 30s and early 40s, and we are in the year 2019 and they're still thriving. And you look at the lexicon of writers and artists that have interpreted these characters over the years, and you sort of start to realize these stories are so much bigger than us. The fact that I get to do this for a living is incredible. The downside, of course, is there's also a real appetite for original storytelling out there. And so the challenge for us becomes, how do you put an original spin on something that's already beloved and you maintain the canon? It has to feel like it's Star Trek, but at the same time, I think people are really hungry for new ideas.
I feel like this has to be said.
I'm very happy that you're giving me this.
So JJ took SpiderMan, and something happens in the halfway point of the first book that completely changes the canon.
Oh, wow.
So this to me feels like an Elseworld, like DC used to do a lot more often. This is a SpiderMan that we haven't seen before, but it starts off like you'd expect it to be. So I'm not going to give it away.
Nobody changes the canon like JJ. And his son, Henry, is also writing on it.
What a great father-son.
That's living the dream.
All right, so there's some more comics. Let's go talk Watchmen, man.
All right, I'm not familiar. I can't wait to hear all about it.
Now, in making Watchmen, for me personally, whenever I reread Watchmen at different points in my life, it changes completely. Do you see reading the comic differently now that you've played with some of the tools in that play shed?
When we put the writer's room together, there were 12 of us to basically start the world building. We treated the original Watchmen as canon, but half of the writers that we hired had no real knowledge or intimacy with Watchmen, and the other half had Watchmen knowledge ranging from I sleep with this under my pillow to I saw the movie, for people who'd never read it. To say this is what I took away from it. And the fact that it's still shocking is just a testament to its staying power.
I feel like the show, I've seen the first three, and the darkness and ponderous nature of it immediately feels like Watchmen, but the humor also feels like Watchmen. What was the process like of finding the darkness of the little quips and moments in that?
When we dove in, we put together a list of adjectives that we used to describe the original Watchmen. One of the words on that list was, "It's funny," ? And some people would describe, I think Watchmen is really funny, and other people are sort of mystified by it, as like, I don't see the humor. I have to reference the brilliant writer behind Watchmen. I have to say his name because I would not be standing here without him, Alan Moore. I also need to say that Alan Moore does not want you to watch this show, and if you respect Alan Moore, please don't watch the show. I've read every interview that Alan Moore ever has given about not just Watchmen, but anything that he's written. And one of his influences was Mad magazine, but when it was a comic book. He remembered this story called Super Duper Man. It's just a troll on Superman. But there's such clear reverence for him too. And I've always looked at Watchmen as sort of like, it's simultaneously worshiping the medium of comics, but it's just not afraid to take the piss out of it.
Black Wall Street is something that's been insane to me that it's not more known.
Right.
It's a piece of the culture that it's terrifying and real, and not that long ago. What was the decision to open there? Because it really sets a tone for the rest of the experience.
That was certainly my experience, because I read this article in The Atlantic, The Case for Reparations, that Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote. He mentioned Tulsa Massacre of 1921, Black Wall Street, and I was 42 years old, and I was like, I don't know what this is. And I consider myself to be a student of history. I care about race relations. It's probably not my place place to make a documentary about what happened in Tulsa. At the same time, they were saying, do you have a take on Watchmen? And I was like, wow. If ever there was like a piece of popular culture that could take real history, particularly sort of the ugliest sides of American history, and shine a light on it, it was Watchmen. And then the two things just sort of seemed to fit together perfectly.
Doomsday Clock. I don't know if you've touched this because you've been inundated in your own Watchmen world.
I'm a big Jeff Johns fan, and I was like, don't tell me anything about it, don't spoil me. And of course, when the first couple issues came out, I ran to get them. But after I read the second issue, I was like, okay, I'm doing Watchmen right now. I probably need to have some degree of plausible deniability that I didn't steal from Jeff knowingly.
1 through 6 right
Great.
here.
Awesome.
I'm glad
Very
you can
exciting.
jump in. 3
Cool.
and catch
Thank
up.
you.
It's an incredible read. So this is John Carpenter writing Joker.
Oh my God, what?
The John Carpenter did a take on Joker. It is Joker,
It's a
Year
one-
of the
it's a
Villain.
one-shot?
Just a one shot.
Okay.
So John Carpenter dove in,
Genius.
and it's almost like a Hunter S. Thompson Joker. So that's gonna be our last book. Let's check you out, man.
Let's do it.
So as we check out, I gotta know, you were involved in Ultimate Comics back in the day. What's it like to see the Ultimate Comics kind of form the foundation of what the MCU's become?
What Mark Miller and Brian Bendis did for the Ultimate Comics created an on-ramp for people who were just completely and totally very hard to catch up with all the continuity. In order for the Marvel movies to work, it actually had to start from square one, and it needed to feel like it was happening now.
Yeah.
So they set the template for that.
All right, guys, your total is going to be $114.62. Oh yeah.
May I?
Oh
Thank you
yeah.
very much.
Because he knows I'll just talk.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
Thanks
you very
so
much,
guys.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. These are yours, good sir.
For keeps?
For keeps.
That's what we always said when we were
forever.
kids.
Watchmen itself, like to me, that time in comics was another beautiful golden age. This new show I love so
thank you.
very much.
Appreciate it.
They can find it on Sundays?
Sunday nights at 9 p.m. HBO, and every HBO Go, HBO Bro, HBO Plus,
HBO Max, HBO Platinum.
2.0, which is if you need to hydrate, all that.
As always, I would like to thank Golden Apple Comics right on Melrose. I would like to thank Damon Lindelof for joining me today. And as always, I would like to thank comic books for existing. Let's go read some comics, man.
Let's do it.